welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mukhtar Kasim. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. And now, the news in details. President Bola Tinubu has met behind closed doors with All Progressive Congress APC governors at the State House ahead of the party's National Executive Council meeting scheduled for later today. The talks focused on key party matters, including the emergence of a new national chairman to replace Abdullahi Ganduje, who stepped down last month, citing health issues. Present at the meeting were Governor Hope Uzodinma, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Biodun Oyebanji, and Dapo Abiodun, with President Tinubu using the forum to brief them on his stance before the 2 p.m. NEC meeting. The federal government has unveiled a new anticipatory action framework shifting flood response from a reactive approach to early, science-driven intervention. Vice President Kashim Shettima received the draft plan and budget at the presidential villa, stressing the need for proactive disaster response guided by both science and traditional knowledge. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and Humanitarian Affairs Minister Professor Nenwate Goshwe echoed the call for swift action as floods increasingly pose national security threats. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has written to the Senate requesting the confirmation of Professor Yusuf Mohammed Yusuf as a commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reforms Commission. Our correspondent, Topsy Gimba, has the details.
The request, conveyed in a letter addressed to the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and read during plenary session, was made in line with Section 21 of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2022. According to President Tinubu, the nomination of Professor Yusuf is to replace Professor Fatim Alkali, who was earlier nominated on June 12, 2025, but failed to appear before the Senate Screening Committee and confirmation. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has referred the nomination to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action.
Request for confirmation of appointment of a Commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission in accordance with the provisions of Section 2.1 of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2022. I'm pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Professor Yusuf Mohammed Yusuf as Commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission. Distinguished Senate President, distinguished Senators, Professor Yusuf Mohammed Yusuf is to replace Professor Fatima Alkali, whose nomination was earlier presented through my letter dated 2nd June 2025, copy attached, but did not appear for screening and for confirmation by the Senate. Whilst I hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the nomination of Professor Yusuf Mohammed Yusuf in an expeditious manner, please accept, distinguished Senate Presidents and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The committee is expected to review the nomination and report back to the Senate with its recommendations in due course. Topsy Gimba, reporting for Global Television News.
And still talking legislative matters, the Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has reaffirmed the commitment of the 10th House to supporting regional development commissions across the country's 6 geopolitical zones. Represented by his deputy, Benjamin Kalu, at the inauguration of key House committees, the Speaker called for robust legislative oversight and strong collaboration to ensure the commissions deliver meaningful impact. Our National Assembly correspondent, Aniete Patrick, completes the report. Moving on, in a bold move aimed at restoring confidence in Nigeria's public institutions, the House of Representatives has taken a significant legislative step by passing for first reading a bill that seeks to ban public and civil servants, along with their immediate families, from using private schools and hospitals. Again, Anita Patrick reports that the bill also aims to curb the growing trend of medical and educational tourism that continues to drain the nation's resources. Now the report.
The bill, titled Private Institutions and Healthcare Services Take 2, The bill, titled Private Institutions and Healthcare Service Providers Prohibition Bill 2025, is sponsored by Honorable Amobi Oga. Its objective is to make public servants lead by example by patronizing the very public institutions they are tasked with supporting and funding.
Because of the patronage of the private schools and healthcare services, our institutions of learning and medical care have become a shadow of themselves, with little or no infrastructural development and falling standard of services. We must of necessity restore confidence in our government institutions, like public schools and government hospitals.
Oga recalled that Nigerians' founding leaders, the likes of Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Obafemi Awolowo, were products of public schools. He decried what he called the unwholesome trend of today's leaders abandoning public institutions, thereby eroding public trust. In his address, the lawmaker pointed out startling figures, saying over 1.3 trillion naira was allocated to healthcare in the 2024 budget, yet Nigerians spend over $1 billion annually on medical treatments abroad. Similarly, in just the first quarter of 2024, $38.17 million was spent on foreign education, a continuation of the $218.87 million spent the previous year.
It does not speak good of our country that our presidents and notable government functionaries are seen to be going abroad for medical treatment and even dying in the process, now turning Nigeria a country for burial.
Oga argues that the abandonment of public hospitals and schools have turned them into shadows of what they once were. With deteriorating infrastructure and declining service quality, the bill now awaits further legislative action as it proceeds to second reading. Annie T. Patrick, Global Television News.
You are watching the live broadcast of Midday News. When Midday News returns, Ivorian under-20 team crowned Wafubi champions after late strike sinks Nigeria's Flying Eagles. Details coming shortly, plus business and foreign stories on the side of this break. Stay tuned. You're welcome back from that break, and now the news continues. In business news, the House of Representatives has passed the 1.48 trillion naira appropriation bill for Rivers State for the 2025 fiscal year on Tuesday. The lawmakers, however, slashed 35 billion naira from the allocation earmarked for CCTV installation, gunboat purchases, and surveillance contracts. National Assembly correspondent Annie T. Patrick reports.
At Tuesday's plenary, presided over by the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, the House considered and adopted the report of its ad hoc committee on Rivers State, chaired by Majority Leader Julius Eobari, before reading the bill for the third time and passing it. Speaking during the consideration of the committee's report, Honorable Eobari said the panel also redirected over 30 billion naira from the controversial security-related votes to other priority votes, insisting that the adjustments were necessary to ensure the prudent use of state resources. He stated that the budget allocates 256.42 billion naira for personnel, 162.58 billion naira for overhead, and 1.06 trillion naira for capital expenditure for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025.
The bill for an act authorized the issue from the Rivers State Government Statutory Revenue Fund of the Rivers State account the total sum of 1,485,662,592,444 naira read third time and pass.
The decision followed earlier concerns by the ad hoc committee over several allocations, including 24 billion naira for CCTV at the Government House and 30 billion naira for gunboats, which the panel queried during budget defense.
But we are not preparing impress for the administrator to spend. And government is continual. At any time, like you have rightly said, we do not pray for any extension, but if it becomes inevitable.
It was purposely on the issue that there it was no governance because there was no budget. And the Supreme Court ordered that those democratic provisions should be restored. And that also reflected in Mr. President's speech when he declared emergency. So what the administrator brought is a budget that constitutionally is to have a lifespan of 1 year.
Recall that President Bola Tinubu had initially forwarded the 1.48 trillion naira River State Appropriation Bill to the National Assembly for consideration in May for urgent intervention to restore governance and accelerate development in Rivers State. The president stated that the budget aims to address development challenges in Rivers State, specifically in the areas of infrastructure, education, healthcare, agriculture, and security. Aniete Patrick, Global Television News.
The federal government has inaugurated the governing board of the National Automotive Development Council, NADDC, to strengthen the council's capacity to effectively oversee and drive the development of Nigeria's automotive industry. The Minister of State for Trade and Investment, Senator John Owan Eno, charged members of the newly constituted board to reposition Nigeria's automotive sector for industrial development and global relevance. Ubong Usoro has details.
The National Automotive Development Council was focused on promoting local manufacturing, enhancing industry's contribution to national economy, as well as fostering sustainable development in the automotive sector. The Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Senator John Owan Eno, emphasized the need to revive local vehicle production, attract fresh investment into the automotive manufacturing, and drastically reduce Nigeria's reliance on imported vehicles. He says the inauguration signals a renewed commitment by the government to transform Nigeria's automotive sector into a job-creating and revenue-generating industry.
I urge you to approach your duties with dedication, with diligence, and forward-thinking approach without interference in the day-to-day administration of the council. I charge this board with the following key responsibilities: strategic planning, policy formulation, stakeholder engagement, infrastructure development, skills development, attracting investment, promoting local content, promoting CNG and electric vehicles. It's so important.
In his remark, Chairman of the Governing Council, Chief Emma Enoko, pledged the board's full support for the federal government industrialization efforts.
Our task is to work with patriotic resolve and strategic foresight to reposition Nigeria as a major hub for automotive manufacturing assembly.
The Council is saddled with the responsibility of implementing the National Automotive Industry Development Plan, NAIDP, aimed at boosting local production, setting industry standards, promoting parts manufacturing, and facilitating technology transfer. Ubong Usoro for Global TV.
And now to news making rounds on the foreign scene. A controversial new constitution in Togo has triggered deadly protest as President Faure Gnassingbé transitions into an all-powerful prime minister role to sidestep presidential term limits. At least 5 demonstrators have been killed in clashes with security forces in Lomé, with more protests planned this Friday, despite growing tensions. Interestingly, the pushback is not being led by traditional opposition, but by musicians, bloggers, and young activists angry over nearly 6 decades of family rules under the Ghanibes. Moving on, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has described the devastation in Gaza as a horror show with no parallel in recent times. His comments come amidst intensified Israeli bombardment, a collapsing health system, and a rising fear of famine. Our correspondent fills in this report. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to deepen. Local authorities say more than 38,000 people have been killed as Israeli bombardments escalate and aid efforts face major obstacles. At a United Nations Security Council briefing in New York, Secretary General Antonio Guterres painted a grim picture of conditions in the territory, calling it one of the worst humanitarian disasters in modern history.
Around the world, we see an utter disregard for, if not outright violation of, international law, including international human rights law, international refugee law, international humanitarian law, and the UN Charter itself without any accountability.
Guterres condemned what he called systematic denial of humanitarian access. He warned that critical supplies like food, medicine and fuel are being blocked, while aid workers operate in increasingly unsafe conditions. The World Health Organization says its facilities were struck in Dar el-Bala. UNICEF has also warned that Gaza is now one of the most dangerous places on earth for children. The United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East reports that over 170 of its staff have died since the war began, its highest toll in any conflict.
These failures to uphold international obligations are coming at a time of a widening geopolitical divides and conflicts. And the cost is staggering, measured in human lives, shattered communities, and lost futures. We need look no further than the horror show in Gaza, with a level of death and destruction without parallel in recent times.
The UN chief stressed that a ceasefire must go on beyond halting violence. It must allow aid to flow and pave the way for a long-term political solution. With Gaza edging closer to famine, Guterres urged world powers not to turn away, warning that millions remain trapped in a cycle of fear, hunger, and death. Mukhtar Qasim, reporting for Global Television. Search operations are underway after air traffic control lost contact with a passenger plane carrying nearly 50 people in Russia's Far East. The plane, operated by Angara Airlines, disappeared from radar while approaching the town of Tainda in the Amur region near Chinese border. Preliminary reports say 43 passengers, including 5 children and 6 crew members, were on board, with emergency services deployed for search and rescue. And now talking sport, where Nigeria's Flying Eagles fell short in the final of the 2025 WAFU B Under-20 tournament, losing 1-0 to Cote d'Ivoire in a hard-fought match in Accra. An error by Nigerian goalkeeper Ebenezer Harcourt in stoppage time allowed Zakaria Tindano to net the only goal, sealing victory for the Ivorians. The young elephant had a flawless tournament, winning all 5 matches and defeating Ghana, Togo, Niger Republic, Burkina Faso and Nigeria en route to lifting the trophy. And now, still on football, Chelsea are reportedly monitoring Manchester United's Alejandro Garnacho for a potential loan move as the winger considers staying in the Premier League. Transfer expert Fabrizio Romano says the Argentine has been dropped from United's pre-season squad alongside Sancho, Anthony and Malacia. Meanwhile, Arsenal and Sporting CP are finalizing paperwork to sign striker Victor Gyökeres in a deal that includes €10 million in performance and add-ons. And lastly on sport, which is in table tennis, where the 2025 WTT Contenders Lagos tournament is in full swing at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, with top international and local stars competing for ranking points and championships prize. With Nigerian ace Quadri Aruna absent, players like Olajide Omotayo, Taiwo Mati, Matthew Kuti and Italy-based John Oyebode are seizing the spotlight to make an impact on home soil. In the women's single, defending champion Srija Akula faces stiff competition from Japan's Hina Hayata, Egypt's Hana Goda and France's Pritka Pavada as the 5-day tournament heats up in Lagos. Now that's it on Global TV Midday News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Qasim, saying thank you for watching.